Okay, welcome back guys. So in this video we are finally going to be installing FME server using the installation file. So let's get into it. So back over here on the machine, I'm on the server. This is where I left you last time with the Postgres pgadmin 4 open. We'll just shrink that one down. And if you were following along, we have already downloaded the FME installer, so FME Flow installer here. If not, go ahead and search for it. Just look for FME Flow download. And you'll be able to find it, probably the first link, FME Flow downloads. And the one that you want is going to be this one here. So the full installer, not the engine only, okay? So go ahead and get that, and then we will run the installer. Okay, with the installer starting, well actually this isn't the installer, this is just going to extract files that will be used later to eventually install the software. So let's just hit the install button and then let this run. It will take a second. Okay, so the extraction of the installer has finished. Just gonna go and check for dependencies now and install everything that it needs. And here we go, now we are into the installation wizard. So let's close this window down. We'll hit next on this intro screen. Agree, obviously we agree with the license agreement. Click next. Okay, here's where we need to choose what we need to do. And I mentioned earlier that if all you just wanted to get FME running on just a single machine, this is the easiest way to do it. You just use the Express, it'll install a local database for FME server to use, it'll install the engine locally, and it's just the easiest way to do it. All you do is spin up your server, install Express, and off you go, ready to go. But for a production setup, usually we'd set up a distributed or a fault tolerant setup, which is what we've been doing. So we have our separate database. We're going to install FME Core on here. We might have one engine on here, and then you could have distributed engines elsewhere as well on different machines. And that's what we're going to go for here. So we'll hit next on this guy. And then here we can choose a few different settings. So this is obviously FME Flow Core, that's the core item that we need to install. So we're going to leave that one. If you didn't have a separate database set up, we set up that Postgres database, but if you didn't, then you would want to run the Flow internal database and have it local. So you can choose that one if you want. We're just going to leave this one blank. You can also choose, if you wanted to leave this server just for core, just to manage jobs, you can ignore having the engine on here as well. One Spatial, who sponsored this video series, also provided us with 2 engine license. So what I'm going to do is have an engine on here, which is pretty common. You might still have an engine on your core server, and then I'm going to show you how to install an engine on the remote server as well. And then obviously we need web services, because that's how you manage FME server core. We're going to be able to leave this server running in the background, and we can manage it for our local machine. So we're going to leave that one turned on. So let's hit next here. It's just the install location. Let's leave it default. And this is what I was talking about with the service account used to run FME Flow Core, right? So normally what you would do is you'd go specify a user account here, and then you'd get your IT services guys to go and create a service account for you to run the machine, to run the service on. You just need to make sure that that user will have access to the shared directory, and also has this logon as service right as well. So we're just going to use a local system account for this exercise, but just understand if you're doing this in a production environment, you probably want to work with the IT services team to go and create a user account. Have all your machines run off of a domain, for example, like a work group domain or something, whatever you've got internally, and then have that user set up as a service user. Just make sure it has these rights here, login as service. So we're just going to continue on using a local system account. So we'll hit next. Okay, so this is a shared directory I was talking about earlier. It needs to be accessible from all the engines accessing it. So we're going to go and set this up now. So we'll go and click on File Explorer, and the share is just going to live here. It doesn't have to be on your core server. It can be wherever, any sort of network share that everyone can go and access. That's why you might want your domain setup or domain service account user to be able to access. But we're just going to do it locally here. So we'll just go FME Flow Share. This is the folder we're going to use, but we'll right click on it and go to Properties, and we need to go and turn on sharing. So under sharing, hit share, and then we'll just hit share here. And it'll ask you if you want to turn on network discovery, so we'll hit yes. And there we go, that's done. So we hit close now, and now we can actually access this folder from FME Flow Core. That's the machine name. We hit enter. And it might just take a second at first. And there we go, we've got FME Flow Share here available from this pathway. That's a UNC network path. So we're going to copy that guy, and we're going to paste that in here. All the engines are going to access this folder through this path as well, because they're all going to be on the same network, VNet. Hit next. Okay, so here, this is external host name. How are people going to access FME Server's admin console? So that's another thing that we're doing a little bit different here from your normal production environment. So if I shrink this down, we can see we've got in Azure, go to the dashboard, we've got this virtual machine here that we created earlier. And if you go into that machine, you'll be able to see your public IP address. You can also see it at the top of your remote desktop connection. We're going to use that, okay? So normally in your environment, your IT services guys, or in your internal corporate teams that manage your Azure environment, or if it's you maybe, you would normally have a domain name set up here as well. So you might have a domain name server, and you could go and set this up so that it's not an IP address, it's actually going to be an actual, like business.com domain type thing. But we're just going to use this public IP address because that's how we're going to access FME server. So back on the server, we'll go set that to the IP address and then hit next. So this one, the actual core host name, it's this machine. So we're just going to leave that as FME Flow Core, hit next. And over here, we're going to, this is where you can select the different database to go and connect to for your core to use. So we've set up the Postgres database, which is the recommended database type, and we'll have that selected. We'll go next. And then you remember the hosts here, and also the database name we'll leave as default, okay? Because later on we're going to go and create this after the installation. It's quite confusing, but you want to leave that as default. You want to put the port in here. You want to put the host in here. So if we go back to that Postgres, we can probably go and grab that host name again from the connection, and it's this one, or you can go and get it from your Azure installation as well. But just because we're on the same machine, I'm just going to go and put that one in there. The port is 5432. That's always the default port for Postgres. If you had a different database, obviously you should know what that is. And this database name, FME Flow, we're going to leave. This database actually doesn't exist yet on our database server. We're going to create that later. So don't worry, the install is not going to go and connect to the database yet. This is just configuring it. So we go next. In the next one, it says, okay, I need to set up a database user. We're going to call the username FME Flow. Just leave that by default. It'll make it easier for you later. But what you want to do is put in your own password here and make sure you remember what that is, because we're going to use that later in the database post-install steps. So I've just set that up there, hit next. And we can go FME Flow Web Application Server. It says this is the recommended one, so we're just going to choose that one. You can also choose to go Tomcat, but you have to do other setup options later on. So we'll hit next. And then here you can set up your HTTPS certificate. So I don't have one of these ready yet, but if you did have your HTTPS set up for the domain that your server is running on, you can go ahead and put in those details here. But for me, I'm just going to hit next on here. We're just going to go with the old HTTP. That HTTPS setup is a whole thing, and we can set that up later on in a later video. So we're just going to have the server run on port 80, and that's just going to be your normal HTTP setup. It's not secure, okay? But for the sake of this series and getting up FME server running, we're going to do that. And then in a later video, I'll show you in the same environment how to set up HTTPS. I need to do some homework on that as well, so bear with me. So we'll go next on this. I've only done it once before, to be honest. Okay, so this is going to be our setup. We've got core, we've got engine, we've got the web services, and our database connection details. So we'll hit next here. And some note here, important FME Flow installer creates a user admin with default password admin. So that's something for you to note here. So when we first get into it, and when we first get into the server, after we've done the database step after installation, we can log in with admin, and then you'll put in the password for the FME console admin. So we'll hit install now. And once again, this will take a while to run. So I'll skip to the end and just show you what screen you should be on by the end of this. Okay, so the installer has finally finished running, and we can go ahead and hit the finish button. And you expect something to pop up here after you've done the installation, but no, not yet. If you did want to find it, you can go to your start menu, click all, go to FME Flow, and we can see we've got our new FME Flow or FME server controls here. We can start, stop, and restart it. And then the FME Flow web interface is where we would normally go and access FME server or FME Flow, but it's not ready yet. We have to do a couple of database post installation steps, and we're going to handle that in the next video. All right, so I'll see you there.